Muslim workers tell boss what he has to do, he responds with something they've never seen before. Minnesota has become the Middle East of America, with accepting more Muslim refugees into their state than any other place in the Union. Migrants who land in other U.S. locations inevitably make their way to Minnesota since they find familiarity there and the government caters to them more than in most states. These refugees are used to having things their way and making demands that are immediately met. So when a group of migrants went to work for a UPS, they expected nothing less. However, when a new manager replaced their previous Muslim apologist boss, they were in for a huge surprise after telling him what he has to do and getting something in return they've never seen before. While the majority of Muslim migrants enjoy the handouts provided by hard-working Americans, some opt to punch a clock for extra income, perhaps working the minimum amount of time to keep their benefits too. Although employment should be mandatory, it's not, especially in a place like Minnesota. When a Muslim migrant does decide to work minimum hours, liberals use it to make a point that they are genuinely doing so to seek a better life and assimilate into American culture. However, what happens on the job is much different. Those who follow Islam have to also follow a strict set of rules that don't assimilate well into our way of life. Muslims must pray 5 times a day, and it doesn't matter where you are when the time to do so hits. They are required to roll out their mats and praise the God that demands that they destroy Western life. Although Muslims can make up for missed prayer time later in the day, most don't want to deal with rearranging this ritual and impose their religious right on their employer, who isn't forced to make exceptions for any other faith but Islam. Muslim employees at the Mendota Heights UPS had grown accustomed to getting their way with their former boss, who let them take frequent and many prayer breaks throughout their shift. When a new manager replaced the previous apologist, he brought with him a new set of rules that prayer breaks weren't going to interrupt the operations of the facility. However, how he went about it didn't sit well with the entitled Somali migrants. Knowing his staff before taking the position, one of the first orders of business for the new manager was to ask all of his workers who wanted prayer breaks throughout their shift, ABC 6 reported. As expected, all of the Muslims immediately raised their hands. After identifying themselves and workers who expected special treatment that others couldn't get, the manager informed all of them that there weren't going to be any more prayer breaks and those who demanded them would be replaced. The Muslim workers tried to tell their boss what he was going to do to give in to them, and he didn't listen, sticking to a general set of rules that everyone working there had to follow. There were only a certain number of breaks that a business is required to give employees, and the prayer rituals would be in excess of that. Since these workers insisted on a special set of rules just for them, the new manager fired all 9 employees who expected him to cave to their demands, making it clear that there was a new boss in the office now. The Somali Muslims didn't appreciate being put in their place and took matters immediately into their own greedy hands.